Hello and welcome to Secrets of Organ Playing podcast. We are your hosts, Vidas Pinkevičius
and Aušra Mudzytė Pinkevičienė.
We've been mastering secrets of organ playing for more than 20 years and sharing them on this blog since 2011.
On this show, which we create from our home in Vilnius, Lithuania, we strive to help you grow in every area of organ playing, including practice, technique, repertoire, sight reading, hymn playing, improvisation, composition, music theory, harmony, and many others.
Our hope is to help you become a complete musician, or what we call as total organist, a program which we have created to help you reach your dreams faster than you would do on your own.
If you are new here, we invite you to subscribe to receive free updates of this blog at organduo.lt. By subscribing, you will also receive free video how to master any organ composition and 10-day organ playing mini course.
And now let's go to the podcast for today. Thank you so much, Frank, for joining in this conversation. It's a delight for me to be able to talk to you about your new paperback versions of your comprehensive harpsichord method, 10 volumes so far, right? Thank you so much and welcome to the show.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you also.
Yes, I first met you online and we talked on the podcast about your digital versions, downloadable, printable PDF versions of your harpsichord method. I was so impressed about your ability to create a systematic step-by-step approach for studying early music on the harpsichord. From volume 1 with the basic rudimentary techniques and then up to volume 10, which is very advanced. So how did you come up with such a tremendous comprehensive volume in the first place?
Well, it was through teaching. I needed the material already for my students, and so I had to look everywhere to have a good varied repertoire. And you had to avoid using photocopies because when you teach in a conservatory, as you know, it's illegal. Yes. And so I had to do everything to avoid the problems with that. And so I I wrote things up by hand. I used photocopies until I was able to put everything on software. And then with software, it took about 5 years to organize all of this. The harpsichord method was 12 years. It took 12 years to prepare the harpsichord method, but about 5 years to get everything into the software and to put it online. We launched it, the virtual method, back in 2013.
Yes.
So it's 6 years now that we've launched it. And now, so in the last 2 years of my teaching, I was teaching directly from my method. And it has been very, very successful. So that's how it came to be. And all of this thanks to my collaborator, Sylvain Noé, who is a guest today. I put him on the guest list. I hope he's listening today. And he gave me the idea to put it, to create a virtual version. And he managed to find a way to have a paperback edition. This is very recent. We launched it about 4 days ago. Yes. And so this is very recent. So that's how it came to be.
I've noticed that it's available on Amazon, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Are you self-publishing it on the Amazon or distributing via third parties?
It's Amazon that takes care of it. It is self-publishing, but it's my collaborator, or webmaster, if you wish, who handles all of that. You see.
Wonderful. It's so amazing that today you can create your own publication basically for free on Amazon and let it distribute virtually without any cost to you, right? And you can do this on Kindle electronically, or you can do it physically as you did with paperback.
Yes, that's correct. And it's thanks to my collaborator who organized all that. I put everything on software, and he converts it to PDF.
Yes.
And then and now in the paperback version.
Now, Frank,
but it's thanks to him who yes.
Yes, I was going to say, Frank, you mentioned that this method came into being because you were teaching material and you couldn't photocopy other people's work, right? Students had
That's
come up with
correct.
original things. So
Right.
when you first started back in 2013, did you see a
Even
need for
before
this
then?
publication?
Yes, I started back in teaching really in reality back in 1992.
Oh, long
really.
time ago. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but there were very few publications. There were very nice ideas in each one. Certain colleagues have done very nice things, but it was very incomplete. And you have a truckload full of books to try to have something coherent. See,
Mm-hmm.
there were very many lacunas. So you had to complete with piano methods or different exercises pulled right and left. And that's how it came to be.
You know, Frank, a lot of people enjoy downloading PDF files and playing from them, but a certain generation of keyboardists are basically or prefer paperback versions, like original editions, still play organ music from paperback, right? The same is probably with harpsichordists, right?
Yes, I understand that many people, especially my generation and before, prefer tangible
Yeah.
objects, and I can understand that. The future generations will probably be different. It's like with books that you read, novels, everything will eventually become virtual. I think there will always be room for paper, for tangible objects, but if you project what's going on, everything is becoming virtual.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to satisfy, to please, to respect the tastes of everyone by having a paperback version as well as an electronic version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I myself prefer playing from paperback editions whenever I can, obviously, because it's better for my eyes, obviously. But if people are thinking about the environment, they prefer virtual methods, right?
Yes,
Virtual
yes,
materials,
right.
which they could just
And
look
it's,
on
and
the
it's
screen. Mm-hmm.
right, and it's easier to carry around. You put everything with with an electronic version. You could put it in your tablet, your iPad, and you carry it around with you, and you can play it wherever you are. Or you could use it to compare with paper editions, with other editions.
Uh-huh.
So it gives you a choice.
Yes, there is another tendency today, the rise of audio material, not only
Yes.
paper, not only digital, but also audio, and to some degree video too. Have you thought about that, incorporating audio samples and teaching materials in audio format, like a podcast or MP3?
No, I haven't thought about that yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the I personally don't have the material for that, but
Right.
it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I have a little cold. I haven't really thought about it, but I'll talk about it with my collaborator. But it's a good idea anyway.
Yeah, that way you will have both text, video, and audio,
Yeah.
everything in
Yes.
one, like a very comprehensive. But I already think that your treatise is already the most comprehensive harpsichord method available to date. Right? You start from the very simple exercises. Can you
Yes.
walk us through how the method is comprised?
From the beginning?
Yes.
Well, first of all, up until 1992, even after that, the harpsichord methods that existed were conceived for people that had a certain amount of keyboard knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
They had a certain amount of basic coordination. They knew how to find their notes. But the problem I had was I had little children who knew nothing. And so you had to get modern piano methods to fill in the gap. And I didn't want to do that. I tried to adapt everything as possible for harpsichord touch and everything that is idiomatic to the harpsichord. So I took exercises and created even my own exercises that are horizontal, forming dialogues, eventually learning the first octave in contrary motion. And once the first octave is learned, we go down to the C position for both hands. And then once that is learned, we go through the C major scale in 2 octaves. And we use all sorts of fingering. My method is conceived so that pupils or students can find the notes using any fingering. The important thing is to know to localize the notes, to find out where they are localized on the keyboard. Then we simultaneously, we discuss touch, hand displacement with the octave displacement, the sensation of intervals, seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, of course, touch, and then we get into simple ornamentation, articulation, and we get more and more advanced progressively.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You know, when people start with piano, let's say,
Yes.
they have a different kind of touch, different kind of feeling, and even different kind of repertoire. It's
Of course,
called
yeah.
legato touch repertoire, and it's based on chords. And harpsichord is more or less polyphonic instrument,
Yes.
right? You have to have something else different.
More polyphonic.
Polyphonic.
We use chords also, but that's a little later, in the second year. Mm-hmm. At the end of the second year of study, where we get it, where chords are used in the repertoire, of course. Mm-hmm. And we study fingerings that were used for chords. Fingerings used by Michel Corrette or Michel de Saint-Lambert, for example. Mm-hmm. And I use that as a basis for studies.
How do these fingerings?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
How do these fingerings differ from, let's say, modern piano fingerings?
We use the thumb less than modern fingerings. But the thumb is used, but it was considered a bad finger in early music. But the thumb is used, but we used it. The index and the fourth finger are more favorized. Second, third, and fourth fingers. You used the thumb and the pinky and the little finger as a last resort, and wanting to use them on the sharp keys, because the instruments are very sensitive, and that doesn't produce a good sound. That's why the thumb was avoided. But with Bach and others, the thumb was used more often. But in the music before the precursors of Bach, the thumb is less used, even though it is used in the left hand. You have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, or 2, 1, 2, 1. You say that, but in the right hand, much less. You start with the second, and you start with the first, but use more 2, 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4.
That's right.
But concerning piano books, we're talking about modern piano, because early piano, the forte piano, that was played almost like a harpsichord at first. But some composers didn't like it, and then that style changed when we evolved into the bel canto style, with a more legato style around Mozart's time. You see,
that's right.
There's even a testimony by Czerny, who had studied with Beethoven, who remembers Mozart playing, and Beethoven said that Mozart's playing he learned on the harpsichord, and his playing was no way adapted to piano playing. Well, that's his opinion. That choppy fingering, it's very, very, very choppy. That doesn't correspond to piano playing. Well, that's his opinion, but that you have to take in its context. Czerny saying, and that's what he's quoting Beethoven. So that shows that the style was evolving around Mozart's time. So the two styles existed simultaneously, but gradually the more legato style came with Clementi and all of that later, and then later on up to Jacques Lemans with the organ with the legato absolu that was developed by Jacques Lemans. See.
How did it happen that in 20th century we forgot the early technique?
Well, because of it's a question of mode. You had the French Revolution already, where many harpsichords were destroyed, because it was a symbol of the aristocracy. And it's a question of making music more accessible to the general public. That's where the concert halls started coming into vogue, because the harpsichord was adapted for a room of a palace, but not for a large concert hall. So pianos, so that's where the piano was more of an instrument of the people, if you wish. And that became more and more in vogue. So the harpsichord died out. It practically died out. Certain composers still liked it, but the technique was forgotten. Just to give an example, Chopin liked the harpsichord. How did he play it? I don't know. I remember seeing a piece written by Chopin. Supposedly it's for the harpsichord, but it resembles more or less like a piano piece, a Chopin piano piece. Verdi had a spinet somewhere in his throning, collecting dust somewhere, but he did use a little bit. And I think Debussy wanted to write for the harpsichord, but never had the opportunity to write for it. And then, of course, you have Rossini, who included a harpsichord part in the Barber of Seville, where there is an aria which is not always used, and there is an aria written in the old style. I guess it was to make people laugh, and it is accompanied on the harpsichord. So you see, the harpsichord was continuing even in Beethoven's time, but it was no longer really in vogue. See, it was the piano style, and even if you look at the late harpsichord style, it's more of a Mozart style that's coming in. Mozart used the harpsichord; he wrote things, but the style it's the classical, the classicism style that's superseded and eclipsed the older harpsichord polyphonic style.
And do you remember who was the first harpsichord player in the 20th century who could be credited?
20th century.
Yes.
I think it's Louis Diemer, D-I-E-M-E-R, I think. He really wanted to go back and research how the harpsichord was played. I think Louis Diemer is more credited than Wanda Landowska.
I see.
It was a totally different approach. I think Louis Diemer, if you look, he is credited for being the one who relaunched the harpsichord again.
Good.
I think
for us, because if it wasn't for him, we would have still playing probably piano touch or something similar, right?
I can imagine. Yes, because when you look at the harpsichords of the 1950s or 40s, they were like pianos. They had a metal framework, and they were built like pianos. It didn't sound very well. You hear them in some of the old movies and old TV series, but there's no comparison in comparison with the harpsichords built according to historical tradition.
Yes. Yes, and with the revival of early music, you have the revival of early instrument making.
That's correct. That's a good thing, because I think we could thank all of the, the rock culture, for a return to original sources. I think that's what brought about the historical organ building, historical early instrument building, with reviving the early instruments like the lute and the recorders and the crum horns and the sackbuts, all of that.
You know, Frank, in the organ world today, there is a movement of digitizing everything and playing on the virtual organ, on the Hauptfrequency. Is this similar with the harpsichord too? This tendency?
There are virtual harpsichords, but I'm not really convinced. I've played one brand. I'm not really convinced.
I see.
I haven't played them all, so I really can't make a judgment on that. As far as virtual organs, there are some excellent. There are some stunning results with for example, Allen Organ Company and things like that. But of course, nothing beats the authentic organ, the pipe organ. Yes. But there have been milestones. It's incredible what they've been able to do with what they call convolutions, with the diverse algorithms and sampling the wavelengths emitted by the stops. That is incredible. But nothing is really reproduces the wind coming and the vibrations produced by the authentic instrument for the moment. Of course, as they always say, never say never. So I'm waiting to see what kind of progress is going to be made.
Mm-hmm. That's right. In a few decades, probably we might see an instrument which virtually is indistinguishable from the real thing. It might be, but I cannot guarantee that.
Pardon me?
In a few decades, it is possible that the listener couldn't recognize the real thing from the virtual.
It might be possible. Some people are, there's a 50-50, there have been surveys, and they have tested people, and let's say out of 20 people, you had 10 people who thought that the digital instrument was a pipe organ. So maybe with the progress, they might be able to really capture the intensity of the sound, the presence that is provided by an authentic pipe organ. It's possible. I really don't know. But I have been really impressed with certain Allen organs. It's just it's incredible what they've been able to do. It's however the mechanical touch is they have a mechanical touch, but it's not as sensitive as the suspended action that we find in pipe organs built now, according to early techniques.
And
if you're a good musician, pardon me?
And for harpsichord, this development is not yet complete.
I haven't seen this. I think it's less successful than the digital organ. Of course, I've only seen one or two different brands, so I really can't make an overall judgment. I was not impressed with the touch. No, and the sound, well, it's all right, but it's not worth a real harpsichord. Maybe on a recording, but I really can't make a real judgment because I'd have to try different makes of digital harpsichords.
I'd like to compare virtual harpsichords with the real harpsichords and virtual organs with the real organs to the, let's say, beer and wine. You have people drinking alcoholic beer and non-alcoholic beer, right? And non-alcoholic beer is very similar to the alcoholic beer in taste. But
really?
Yes, but non-alcoholic wine is very different from alcoholic wine. Therefore, it's like a harpsichord.
I've never tasted.
Yeah, it's very different.
I can imagine. I've never tasted a non-alcoholic wine. I like wine, but I've never tasted non-alcoholic wine, so I really can't say.
Yeah.
But I like your comparison. We can also compare, let's say, an acoustic piano. Let's talk about modern pianos. An acoustic modern piano compared to a digital modern piano. Again, there are some surprising results with certain brand names. I don't know if we're allowed to mention brand names, but there is a particular brand name which is very successful. However, you're always adjusting things, especially in the lower register. It's too loud, it's too soft. You have to make all kinds of adjustments. But the sound can be convincing, but still it's not worth an excellent acoustical piano. It's probably better than a bad acoustical piano, probably. But again, I think nothing is worth the real thing, for the moment anyway.
Probably I can imagine the practicality of recording on the virtual organ or piano or harpsichord very easy, right? You press the button and it's recording.
It's possible, I guess so. But is there enough presence when you listen to it? Is that presence, that those vibrations that you hear compared to a real pipe organ, is the presence there? Some makers, some digital organ builders say yes, but it all depends on the amount of tone cabinets you use and everything. Right. There's a lot of parameters that come into consideration.
When I returned from United States to Lithuania, Aushra and we were looking for instrument to play on, to have in our house. and we research digital organs and pipe organs and virtual organs, and we decided to go with the real thing. We have the two stop instrument, but that's kind of real thing, and we value it very much.
Well, you have the touch that way, and it's a practice instrument. It's a practice instrument. Okay, as long as you have the opportunity to play on larger instruments where you can use the registration, where you can make your registration. Okay, fine. But a practice instrument having two stops, or that's fine. You have the touch, and you have the real sound. Fine, if you're okay, that's all right.
If I were in a position to buy another instrument like a secondary instrument today, I would probably choose pedal clavichord.
Okay. They are. You see them more on the market now. Yes, that's very good. That's very good. Also because Bach, as you know, or at least Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach, says his father preferred people start with the clavichord rather than starting with the harpsichord before beginning the organ, because the clavichord is so sensible, so sensitive with the touch, and that's very good. So a pedal clavichord would be excellent for your foot touch.
Yes. Are there any pedal harpsichords available too?
Not to me. I haven't seen any in France. I see them on the internet. I see them in certain magazines, but I haven't seen any in France. I'm not aware of any. The harpsichord, the builders I know of, I don't know of any clavichord builders personally. I know harpsichord builders, but not clavichord builders. So in France, I really don't know if there are any around.
I see.
There are clavichords, but pedal clavichords, I really don't know.
What about pedal harpsichords?
I haven't seen any in France. I don't know of anyone that makes them in France, but they do exist in different countries. I've seen advertisements about that on the internet or in different magazines, but I don't know if any pedal harpsichords exist in France at the moment.
Very interesting discussion. So Frank, let's go back to your method, harpsichord method. Can you share a little bit about the feedback you received from your students who were studying from your method? What do they say?
Wait, that they like it, and the parents appreciate it because everything is prepared for them. Because I write in the fingering at first. Later on, there's less and less fingering. But I had so many students that were not well alert. And so they didn't know their right hand from their left. So you had to go back to all the way back and teach them basic things about coordination. What is your right? What is your left? What is your first finger? Where is your third finger? All of that, and working the motor skills. And so the parents thanked me for that, and the students, when they grew older, they were very thankful to have this method, because their hands had the basic coordination developed thanks to this method, and they're able to go into the more difficult repertoire without problems, because all of this groundwork was laid before. There are some colleagues who have not done this type of work, and sometimes I've had some students who this groundwork was not laid down, and there was no coordination. Their fingers didn't know where to go. You could see that by watching their hands. And so the brain was not linked with the muscles, and was not linked with the ear, was not linked with the eye. So you had to go back and relearn, reteach them all of the basics.
Now, comparing to the organ world, I know you have a tremendous experience as an organist, right? And also as a harpsichordist.
I started out with the modern piano, then the organ, and the harpsichord much later. Much later.
So my question is, comparing to the organ studies, is there enough interest in the harpsichord today?
Oh, yes, there is. Thanks to the early music movement, both instruments work hand in hand. They're cousins, as you know. And in France, it's a very popular instrument. In Germany also, in the Netherlands. And there are a lot of people that want to learn to play the harpsichord. The problem is the cost. So that's the thing. So if students can come to the school and play the harpsichord, okay. But some schools only have one harpsichord, so that poses a problem. So you have to find harpsichord builders that build a playable instrument, which is correct. It's not going to fall apart. So that's the problem. You can more easily find a playable piano than a playable harpsichord.
Can a small spinet be substituted for a harpsichord?
I think so. There are some colleagues who don't think so, but where I taught in the 18th district of Paris, which was not one of the wealthiest districts in Paris. There are many poor people there. And many people live in efficiencies, or maybe a two-room apartment, two-room flats. So they didn't have any room to put a harpsichord.
Yes.
So I suggested having a spinet harpsichord. I know everyone wants to have a keyboard from C to F. It's not possible, or F to F. It's not possible. So I suggested they start out with a spinet. And then later on, they can have, when they have more financial means, they can acquire a harpsichord once they have the room.
Exactly.
It's using common sense, being practical, being realistic.
It's very good advice, because usually when people start from the beginning, they don't have not only the means, but they don't know if their passion will last long.
That's correct. That's correct.
In a real harpsichord, right? It's better probably to start small, like a spinet or a virginal, right? And then and then progress from there in a few years, if they can sustain their passion.
I think so, because like with any instrument, it takes diligence, takes perseverance. It's a fad that you're going to play for 1 year or 2 years and just, hey, I'd rather do something else afterwards. No, you have to be motivated, like with any instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So many my students, I had them because they didn't find any other instrument. The piano classes were full, and the violin classes were full. So I had students that weren't motivated. So I tried to get them motivated, and they ended up by being motivated. They liked the sound.
Mm-hmm.
See, and I know some colleagues won't like this approach. They says, if you don't have a harpsichord, if you don't have a spinet, please don't bother studying the harpsichord. No, that's not good. If you want to make the harpsichord known, you have to start with what you have. So I had them get a digital keyboard, 61 notes. I know it's a heresy for many people, but I told them, if you like it, if you want to continue, then get a spinet harpsichord. See?
Yes.
I know that some colleagues would disagree with that, but it's being practical. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't have students. I would have probably one student. See, if you're in a wealthy area, that's fine. But when you're in an area where you have people from different nationalities who have come to France, considering the world context now, the migrants and all that, you can't reason that way. You can do that when you have students from wealthy families who have had an excellent musical culture. But when you have people who have no idea of what non-Western music is like, you have to get down to the level. You see.
Yes, I can relate, because I think what you're saying can be compared to going on a date with a girl, let's say, and asking to marry her right away.
Right.
It's not reasonable, right? You have to
No, of course not.
First for a few months at least, right? For maybe for a few years, and then you can propose, right?
Of course.
It's the same with the instruments. You don't invest in a large instrument right away. The same thing with cars. You don't buy a very expensive car right away when you first get a driving license.
Of course not. It's like I use the example for driving a car. I said, to learn how to drive a car, You don't need a Mercedes-Benz. You don't need a Rolls-Royce. You don't need a Ferrari. You can buy a Skoda, or you could buy a car like that. That's a reasonable, that's decent. You can learn how to drive on that. Then later, if you have enough money, then you can buy a more higher priced car.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's the same thing with an instrument.
Frank, it's interesting
Yes.
when you teach the harpsichord. How do you recommend people to practice? How long, for example, do you recommend to practice for a few hours a day, or 30 minutes, or 15 minutes, or how do you?
30 minutes at first, 20 minutes, as long as the practice is done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Then later on, you should go on to 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and if you're really motivated, 4 hours. And it's like any concert, like any instrumentalist who wants to become a concert artist, you could practice up to 8 hours a day if you wish. But for the ordinary practice, you should practice 2 to 3 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
If you're majoring in a major conservatory, and if you want to become, it's generally 3 hours a day. If you have more time, 4 hours, 5 hours, okay. But for little children, 20 minutes, 30 minutes is fine.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that they must be.
Do you
Pardon
have
me?
students like that who practice for a long time, like a few hours?
I've had students. I'm retired now, but I've had students who are well on their way now. They're well on the way of becoming professionals, and they practice 3 to 4 hours a day easily, with no problem, because they want to get there. They want to succeed in their career, and they have. I've put them in contact with excellent teachers who will be able to help them on their way.
Wonderful.
And I've been very happy for them.
I was going to ask you another question, Frank.
Yes.
It's about harpsichord and studying not from the beginning, but somewhere in the middle, according to your method. Is it possible for a keyboard player or an organist to come into volume 5 or 6 or 7, and not from?
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's designed start from volume 1, but you can, because the student already has a keyboard knowledge.
Yes.
You see, and it's up to the teacher to improvise, to judge what the student is capable of doing. You will certainly have to work on the touch, certainly, especially if the student uses modern piano technique with arm weight and all of that. We don't use that in the harpsichord, and so you have to teach these type of elements to the student, plus the different articulations as well. The articulate legato, as you talk about, the legato as it was understood by Marburg and all of these people. You see. But you could start with the exercise. Everything is concerned. Everything is coherent. I can't ask a student who is advanced to start with volume 1, because he already knows his notes. The only thing is that touch is explained there. But you can take the student wherever he or she is, and you take advantage of the material of volume 4 or 5 or 6, and you teach the touch there, and the articulations.
Frank, does your method touches things like ornamentation and maybe variation, improvisation a little bit, like continuo playing?
Yes, we go into a little bit of 18th century improvisation. Let's say from Bach to Rameau, for example, personal. Because it's a little bit more familiar. I discussed this in one volume, where students can learn how to improvise and to fill in notes that are everything. If it's too plain, you fill it in. And I go into an improvisation that existed before then. It's called the diminutions. That was in the Renaissance and in the early Baroque. The Musique of Sveding and John Dooland, and these people in the Fitzwilliam Virginal book, I discussed that in one of the volumes. Starting with volume, at the end of volume 2, diminutions. We go through volume 3 with that. Then later, I go into 18th century improvisation, where you can be able to make variations in a piece by Louis Couperin, for example.
When people finish volume 10, let's say, in your
Yes.
method, what can they play already? What is their level?
Their level is very advanced. They can practice. They can play all the repertoire except with contemporary music, but they can play all of the repertoire. And what I'm doing now, I'm waiting for volume 11 to come out, at least as an electronic version first, which deals with the most difficult repertoire we used in international competitions. So that's volume 11. And I'm working on volume 12, which is only basso continuo, where I take the material you used in all 10 volumes, even 11 volumes, and I put it together and readapt it. So you have everything in one place. And it would not only be the material from volumes 1 to 11, but it will be even beyond that, because the basso continuo material in volumes 1 to 11, it's only half the material that I have. So volume 12 will go way beyond that, with 18th century basso continuo.
I was very impressed, Frank, when you wrote to me in the email the other day that your harpsichord method was purchased by, I think, over 1,000 people, right?
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. And I'm very happy with that.
That's very
I'm very happy with it. From 30 countries, 30 countries. Not to mention all of them, but you can, all of the major countries.
Do you, Frank, keep in touch with your online readers and students?
I do. Some of them contact me. They ask me questions, and I respond as best as I can. I do.
Wonderful.
I try to maintain a correspondence with them.
That's very helpful.
And a way of doing it also is I have 2 pages on Facebook also. Is my own page, Frank Mento, and there's one page in English and a page in French. The page in English is Harpsichord Online, and the page in French is Clavecin en ligne, where I post things concerning the harpsichord, performance advice and all of that. How to breathe, all that type of posture, how to prepare a concert, where I put advice once in a while.
Do you also post your own playing videos or recordings?
No, I haven't. I don't have the equipment for that type of thing. If someone wants to do it, maybe I don't know if my collaborator would have the time to do that, but that would be an interesting project. I haven't done that yet. No.
Excellent.
I started out very simply with simple means.
Probably your phone would work for this too. Your iPad would.
Oh, really?
Work. I would think so. Yeah, you could experiment. Do a test. Like a test.
It would have to be well done. You see.
Yes.
It would have to be done by someone who really knows how to do that, because I'm not a computer champion, so I'd have to have someone do that for me.
I see.
As long as if it's well done, okay, that would be fine.
I think the only thing you would need an external microphone, because internal microphones are not very well advanced with iPads and phones.
As you see, I don't know anything about that. See,
yes.
As you see, I'm not a computer. I'm not a hacker and all of that. I don't know anything about. I'm not a computer scientist, as they would say. So I start out very simply.
Me too.
Because I come from the generation where everything was written by hand. Yeah.
Yes.
See, I'm gradually evolving into cyberspace, as they say now.
Excellent. I also recently purchased external wireless microphone. Australia made. It's called a Rode, RODE wireless.
It's called what? Rode? What?
Rode, R-O-D.
Oh, really?
Very small, and it can work with my phone, and I can live
Oh,
stream
really?
videos now with a much
Oh,
better sound quality.
I see. See, I know nothing about that. My collaborator, Sylvain Noy, I'm sure he knows about that because he's a computer scientist. And he's the one that gives me the ideas. He was the one that was able to create a paperback version. He was able to find people who were able to do that. He's the one that gave me the idea for the electronic version that we've had up till now. Because I was using the standard procedure, I wanted to publish my method in the old traditional way. You go and see a publisher and you show the manuscripts, and they all say, I went to a music show in Paris, and it says, well, you send me an example and we'll go through the commission, we'll see what they'll say. And I didn't want to do that because a lot of projects get thrown into the dustbin, to the wastebasket. And so my collaborator was one of my students. He found me through internet. He started studying harpsichord with me, and he's the one that had the idea of creating an electronic version, a digital version, and that's how it came to be back in 2013 when we launched this method. Now it's 6 years that the method has been online, and I'm very, very pleased with the how it has been so warmly received.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Frank, with sharing your knowledge and expertise about playing the harpsichord. And I'm really delighted that you have come up with now, I think, 8 volumes of paperback versions, and volume 9 and 10 will be published soon, right?
That's correct. That's right. That's correct. If I remember, that's correct. Yes. I'm thinking of my memory. Yes.
And you're working on volume 11 and 12 for the future.
Yes, volume 11 is done. I'm waiting for my collaborator to convert it to PDF. And I guess we'll launch it first as a digital version, as an electronic version, as we did with the other volumes, eventually a paperback version. And the volume now 12, which is on basso continuo. And I'm working on that now. I still have a lot of work to do.
Wonderful.
But I'm very happy to do it. I'm so happy because I think it's an excellent project, and a lot of people I have excellent comments from all over the world.
Yes.
This has been helping people. That's the goal of the method. It's to help teachers and students.
Yes. It's very helpful when people write to you and respond to you, right, positively, and you get encouraged and motivated to continue.
Yes, exactly.
Because you know how your work helps real people.
Yes. And I'm always interested to have feedback, to have answers from people who have acquired the volumes, to see how the progress that they're making. I'm always interested in their progress.
All right. Could you share with our listeners one more time how they can find you and your harpsichord method online?
Well, you can find it. I don't know if there's a link that you put in there. It's harpsichord-method.com. That's the virtual. That's for the electronic version. Okay. Yes. The paperback version, I don't have everything. I don't have the references in front of me now.
You know what? I can just advise for your collaborator to put links to Amazon in your website, so that people would go to your website first and will find the links of paperback versions right away.
We do have it on the website. If you go to harpsichord-method.com, you will find the link for the paperback version.
Oh, that's very simple and much better.
Yes, it's you've got on the page, it's marking announcement. We talk about a paperback version, and it'll say you can find it here, where it's in blue, and you click on that, and you will puts you with the edition, with the Amazon edition.
Excellent. Thank you so much again, Frank, and please continue working on your harpsichord method volume 12 now, and get back to me when it's done. I'll be delighted to talk about it.
With pleasure, and please give my regards to Osra also.
Yes.
To Osra. Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. And have a good day.
Have a good day, and upcoming Christmas too.
Same to you. A Merry Christmas to you also.
This blog is supported by Total Organist, the most comprehensive organ training program online, where you will find courses for every area of organ playing, including technique, practice, sight reading, repertoire playing, hymn playing, improvisation, composition, music theory, and harmony, with hundreds of scores and thousands of exercises. Here is what some of the students are saying.
Hugh writes, "The sight reading course has helped me tremendously. Thank you very much for your essays, courses, and all your help."
Robert writes, "I found the fingerings, registration ideas, and general comments to be excellent."
John writes, "I have found your download very helpful. It was really excellent. I have watched some of your teaching videos, and when I read your instructions, I tried to imagine you were teaching me. You may feel disappointed that I am 2-3 days behind, but I am a slow learner, and I have committed to taking the time to get it right, as you say. But the other night my wife commented that she had never heard me play such a detailed melody in the left hand so well. My left hand is generally poor."
Robert writes, "It has been a great pleasure in my life of having discovered your courses and material, as well as the YouTube work of recordings. You have a calm and pleasant way of teaching."
Ron writes, "Hi Vidas and Osha, thank you guys. What a wonderful response to my email note to you. You've got me right, and I feel you understand my level of playing. Yes, at home, and lucky that I have an organ for that reason. I am paying attention to this, and I am going to try this no longer secret model. Yes, and I love Cesar Frank too. What is very nice about your blog podcast is that Osha and Vidas are like a Socratic dialogue, and by bouncing things off of each other, so much more information comes out and is expressed. Your comments contain a wealth of information and understanding. I really appreciate this. It is very inspiring and will keep us moving forward."
Would you like to receive the same or even better results that our students are getting? If so, join them at organduo.lt/total-organist. And of course, you will get the first month free too. You can cancel anytime.
Also, if you haven't yet subscribed to receive free updates of this blog, make sure you do that at organduo.lt. By subscribing, you will also receive free video, how to master any organ composition, and 10-day organ playing mini course.
This was Vidas
and Osha from Secrets of Organ Playing.
And remember, when you practice,
miracles happen.